Let's be honest, most people don't actually want to be rich. They just want to look rich long enough for strangers to think they made it. They chase the word millionaire like it's a finish line, but they don't even know what they'd do once they got there. The number sounds powerful, so they chase it blindly. New job, new car, new debt. Then they die exhausted, wondering why financial peace always stayed one raise away. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't need $1 million. You don't even need close. $500,000, managed correctly, will buy you more freedom, time, and sanity than most rich people will ever know. Because the secret isn't how much you earn, it's how well you control the burn rate of your life. The real disease isn't poverty, it's lifestyle inflation. People can't sit still. The second they make more, they find new ways to spend it. They treat comfort like a drug, tolerance rising with every paycheck, and they call it success. Meanwhile, the quiet few who actually understand money use it like oxygen, something to breathe, not to worship. So this isn't a pep talk about becoming a millionaire. It's a reality check. Because if you knew how to manage $500,000 properly, you'd realize you've been overestimating money and underestimating yourself. People love to say, if I just made a little more, I'd finally be fine. But more is a mirage. The closer you get, the farther it moves. You think another raise, another promotion, another zero in your bank account will bring peace, but it never does. Because the second your income goes up, your definition of enough quietly doubles. That's not ambition, that's addiction. You see it everywhere. Someone makes 40 grand a year and dreams of making 80. Then they hit 80 and suddenly need 120 to breathe. Then they hit 120 and complain that life costs more now. Of course it does. You built a bigger cage and called it progress. Most people don't want freedom. They want fancier problems. The illusion of more is how the system keeps you trapped. The marketing, the comparison, the social media flexes, they all exist to convince you that you're behind. It's not an accident. Entire industries profit off your dissatisfaction. If you ever stopped chasing, the economy would collapse. So they feed you endless upgrades, a better phone, a bigger car, a slightly newer version of what you already own. And you buy it, not because you need it, but because you're scared of looking like you don't belong. Here's the irony. The people with the loudest lifestyles are usually the most fragile. They're leveraged to the eyeballs, living on credit and fear, hoping nobody notices how tight the math really is. True wealth is quiet. It doesn't need validation. It's the calm confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. But that doesn't sell ads, so you'll never see it trending. $500,000 is a lot of money if you know what to do with it. But most people would torch it trying to look like they had $1 million. They'd buy the luxury car, the upgraded house, the designer wardrobe, and wonder why they're still anxious. Because more doesn't fix insecurity. It feeds it. When you finally understand this, everything shifts. You stop chasing status and start chasing stability. You realize wealth isn't measured in zeros. It's measured in control. How much of your time you own. How little you need to impress anyone. That's the point where money stops being a scoreboard and starts being a shield. And that's the first lesson of $500,000. It's not about getting more. It's about finally knowing what enough actually means. The real flex isn't a car, a house, or a Rolex. It's waking up when you want to. It's walking away from anything that insults your peace. The real use of money isn't to buy things, it's to buy time. But almost nobody gets there because they spend their time chasing the very things that steal it back. Money is supposed to make your life lighter. Instead, people use it to make life heavier. They buy obligations. They upgrade everything, thinking it will make them happier, then realize every upgrade comes with new maintenance, new bills, new pressure. You don't own the luxury SUV. It owns you. You don't live in the house. The mortgage lives in you. The world tells you to spend money to feel free, and then laughs quietly as you chain yourself to the lifestyle you built. $500,000 used correctly is enough to buy freedom from that treadmill. It's enough to build a buffer, a cushion between you and desperation. It's the difference between I have to and I choose to, and that difference changes everything. Because once you have time, you start making better decisions. You stop rushing into bad jobs, bad deals, bad relationships. You start playing offense instead of defense. Here's the part people miss. The poor and middle class think money's job is to buy comfort. The wealthy know its job is to buy options. That's why the first thing the rich protect isn't their image, it's their calendar. They design their lives so nobody else owns their hours, because time is the only thing you can't earn back. Once it's spent, it's gone. You can lose $500,000 and rebuild it. You can't lose 5 years of your life doing something you hate and get that back. And that's why most people never feel rich, no matter how much they make. They use money to buy symbols of freedom instead of freedom itself. They lease cars to look successful, but can't take a week off work without panicking. They live in beautiful prisons they built themselves, decorated with their own ego. So let's be clear, the point of $500,000 isn't to show it, it's to use it strategically, to invest it so it generates time, not anxiety, to build systems that pay you so you don't have to sell hours forever, to turn your calendar into your asset. That's the game. The goal isn't to have more money, it's to need less of it. That's what buying time really means, reaching the point where the clock belongs to you again. Most people will never feel wealthy, even if they make good money, because they carry a mental ceiling that keeps them broke. It's not about numbers, it's about identity. The human brain has a weird habit of sabotaging anything that feels unfamiliar, even success. So when people start making more, instead of stabilizing, they find creative new ways to stay broke. Bigger car, bigger house, bigger bills. It's not bad luck, it's conditioning. If you grew up surrounded by scarcity, comfort feels suspicious, saving feels pointless. You convince yourself that money is meant to be spent, that you can't take it with you. And that belief system quietly deletes every opportunity for real growth. Because the second you start building stability, your brain panics and says, "This isn't who we are." It pulls you back to your familiar level of chaos. This is the wealth ceiling, the invisible barrier that stops people from keeping what they earn. You see it everywhere. The lottery winner who goes broke in 3 years. The influencer who makes millions and ends up in debt. The entrepreneur who doubles his income but still complains he's broke. The problem isn't money management, it's emotional management. You can't out-earn bad wiring. $500,000 means nothing if your habits stay the same. If you still spend every dollar that hits your account, if you still use money to prove something, if you still can't sit with quiet contentment, the number doesn't matter. You'll keep finding ways to burn through it. Because peace feels uncomfortable. And that's the trap. People want wealth, but they don't want stillness. They want freedom, but they can't handle boredom. To break that ceiling, you have to rewire what enough feels like. You have to get comfortable with holding money without touching it. You have to stop treating stability like a temporary state between splurges. Because wealth isn't about what you buy, it's about what you can afford to ignore. Most people never make it there because they confuse excitement with progress. They think moving money around means growth, when in reality, it's motion without direction. True wealth feels boring. It looks like patience, silence, repetition. That's why so few people achieve it. They're addicted to drama, and money, when managed well, removes it. So if you ever get to $500,000 and still feel the urge to spend, just remember, the ceiling isn't made of numbers, it's made of noise. Let's get practical for a second. Everyone throws around big numbers like, "I need $1 million to retire," or "I'll be free when I hit 7 figures." But the math doesn't back that up. There's a simple rule used by investors and financial planners called the 4% rule. It says that if you can live off 4% of your portfolio per year, your money can theoretically last forever. It's not magic, it's math. Do the numbers. 4% of $500,000 is $20,000 a year. Add that to any passive income, side business, or part-time work, and suddenly, you're not desperate anymore. You're not rich, but you're stable. And stability, when used right, is the foundation of freedom. Because the point isn't to stop working, it's to stop being forced to. That's what real wealth feels like. People overestimate how much money they need, because they underestimate how much peace costs. They picture luxury, private jets, beach houses, but what they actually crave is control, to wake up and not feel owned by their bills. $500,000 invested properly can buy that control. It's not glamorous, but it's enough to turn panic into patience. Now here's where it gets interesting. The 4% rule isn't just about retirement. It's about leverage. Once you know your freedom number, everything changes. You stop chasing random goals. You stop comparing. You start designing life backward. Not how much can I make, but how much do I actually need? And that question is the great filter of adulthood. Because most people don't want freedom. They want indulgence. Freedom looks modest. Indulgence looks expensive. You could live well, debt-free, in most cities on $20,000 to $30,000 a year. If you stripped away the social pressure to constantly upgrade, you could move somewhere slower, buy time instead of status, and actually live. But nobody tells you that, because the economy needs you restless. It needs you thinking peace is something you have to buy, not something you create. That's the irony of wealth. The more you understand money, the less of it you actually need. The 4% rule is a mirror that shows you how much of your anxiety is self-inflicted. If your version of freedom still depends on luxury, you don't want freedom, you want distraction. $500,000 won't make you powerful, but it can make you untouchable, not because you have everything, but but because you finally stop needing it.